What's up, Toku fans? My name is Robbie. You're watching Geek Level Asian. Welcome back. A few days ago, it might actually have been a week ago now, Zenkaiger Episode 2 was aired in Japan, and we finally got it online here in the United States. We always get the raw files first. They're completely in Japanese, but then a few days later, the subtitles come out because I do not speak Japanese. So today we're gonna break it up again into 3 parts. We're gonna do an introduction to Gaon, because this pretty much was Gaon's episode. Things we learned, and then, like I've been doing in the other videos, things that I thought were funny because I love Sentai humor. And if you want to help other Super Sentai fans, Tokusatsu fans, see this video, make sure that you like this video, because if you do not, the algorithm kind of like pushes it down. So if you like it, everyone will be able to see it. Oh, actually, before we get into the introduction to Gaon, I just want to say I forgot to mention in the last Zenkaiger Episode 1 video, something that they changed that I really liked is that they do the dance, their series dance. It's not the closing credits, it's the opening credits. So now, introducing Gaon, our second Kikinoid on the Zenkaiger team. So Gaon's introduction episode in a nutshell is there's a new mushroom monster who's made from one of the, I don't know if I'm saying this right, the Torager gears, which are basically the evil Toji Tendo gears. And it's created from the Torager gear that has captured Mushroomtopia. So basically, every gear, the evil gears, have a captured world in them, this one being Mushroomtopia, and then they create a monster from that world. That's important for later. Now, the funny thing about this monster is his initial attack is just making mushrooms grow on people's heads. That's right, you heard me correctly. Long, stalk-like, rounded top, sometimes flesh-colored items growing on people's heads. There's a point in the episode where Kaito even suggests having a mushroom party. Would that be the vegan version of a sausage party? Now, getting back to Gaon himself, he seems to be like kind of like the overly chipper, almost like hippie of the group so far. And what's interesting about him is that he's a self-loather. He doesn't like Kikinoids or anything robotic. This is his first time in, the human world, and he's never seen like mammals or organisms of that kind. So he thinks they're all cute. He thinks they're soft. He likes, this sounds really weird, he likes to touch them. He doesn't like the touch of robots. Let's just say that. They're cold to the touch. Now, this touches upon a particular theme that might have shown up in Super Sentai at some time. If it has, please leave it in the comments, which is self-hatred or self-loathing for your own people. Because in my episode 1 video, I was talking about how Zenkaiger tackles the concept of prejudice. This one is also a pretty heavy topic, it's masked in this like kawaii, cute type of, children's show, but it's, maybe an important thing for little kids to at least be aware of. Because I have a feeling there's gonna be a point where, Gaon warms up to being friends and, actually accepting his own kind. And you could chalk it up to, hey, it's just a theme of the show, they're not thinking about it that hard. But I don't know, if I was a writer on a television show, from a creative standpoint, I might want to do more with it, just subliminally. Subtext. Now, he's got these robotic dreads, and those remind me of Predator, but his leg warmers are screaming Mr. Mistopheles. Some other things about his look, he has the dog tags like Gao Yellow has. So, kind of like how, Juron has the Geki pants or shorts or whatever they are. He's got the Gao Yellow dog tags. His mecha form is obviously modeled after Gao Lion. It looks pretty much like it. But when he does his original henshin, he's supposed to look like Gao King. Gao King is not my favorite, I'll be honest. To be honest, I'm not exactly like a Gao Ranger fan. I'm not really a Wild Force fan. That's not to say I don't like Gaon. But I am going to mention something, actually, that I don't like about this episode and Gaon in general later. So stick around for that. We'll even put that in as a final category, the one thing I don't really like. Now, what's interesting in this episode is that Juron and Kaito are trying to basically recruit new Zenkaiger to the team in this episode, and they're basically asking anybody, like anybody in the neighborhood. There isn't really much of a screening process. It's kind of like Kaito's just kind of handing out gear tilingers to whoever will say yes. Probably not the best way to recruit new members, but obviously he runs into Gaon. Gaon says no at first, but then he eventually accepts. So things we learn. There's a few interesting things in this episode that uncover what's to come in the rest of the series. And one of them is that both sides, the good and the bad, didn't know that each other were using gears as, you know, as weapons or power-ups or what have you. This guy, who I'm just gonna, I can't remember his name, I'm gonna refer to him as Johnny 5 Alive. He made the Torgir gears, or Torir gears, or however you say that. And we know that Kaito's parents made the Sentai gears. I don't know if there's a correlation. I was thinking maybe, since Kaito's parents are missing, maybe Johnny 5 Alive and his other partner in the Toji Tendo lair are actually Kaito's parents made into Kikinoid Toji Tendo bad robot thems. That would be interesting because it reminds me a little bit of Gokaiger. You know, Joe Geepken's sword-swinging senpai daddy was turned into Yes Boss. So plot thickens. At least, I mean, we don't really know yet, but let's see what happens. Another thing that is unique to this episode, rather than the first one, is that one Sentai gear can be used for multiple Zenkaiger team members, I guess you can say. Because we see Kaito use the Gogo 5 gear, and it both affects him and Juron, and they both get the ribbon dancer things and play jump rope with, I don't know what you want to call a mushroom monster. I was curious about this because in the first episode, it seemed that one Sentai gear only affected its caster, but evidently that is not the case. You also see this later in the episode when they use the Hurricaneger gear, because that affects Kaito, Juron, and Gaon, and they do that whole ninja behind the paper doors, there's definitely a name for it, attack. And what's cool about this one is usually you just see a silhouette. In this, they actually show the characters, which was pretty neat. And I like how they explain it. Gaon says, oh, my body moved on its own, or something to that effect. You know, in these types of shows, when they basically, you know, they use something, they automatically know how to do it. Sometimes they don't really explain that. In this, they kind of did. Gaon said, my body moved on its own. You know, it's not like, you know, Neo in the Matrix who needs to download an entire program of how to do Kung Fu. It kind of just happens. And now I was gonna mention this in my last video again, but I wasn't sure if it was a trend, but it seems like it is. When the Kikinoids henshin, the first move they do is calling back, it's like an Easter egg to their corresponding series. So Juron does that over the head Geki pose, and Gaon does that signature, you know, Gao right arm in the air thing. So now something that they revealed that's super important. So now something in this, I meant to say important, something that's super important. Once they defeat the mushroom monster in this episode, Mushroomtopia is then freed. Vroom notices that in the Toji Tendo lair where they are. So basically every time they defeat a monster throughout the series, they're freeing the different worlds from the Torgir gears. And I don't think they even know that yet. So now, things that I thought were funny. I do think it's funny when you repeat a joke tastefully, because the audience isn't expecting it. And one of the funniest things that I thought happened in the first episode was as soon as Juron got a gear Tlinger, he immediately just shoots and knocks over or destroys. I don't know what happens to that particular henchman, but basically takes out a henchman. As soon as Gaon gets a gear Tlinger, he does the exact same thing and they repeat the joke. I thought that was super funny. I actually hope that every one of the Kikinoids does it, or at least Kaito knows, like as soon as he hands it to maybe Vroom at the end, it's like, you know, like, here's the gear Tlinger, don't shoot anybody, let me show you how to use it first. Something like that. Maybe the writer is trying to teach children about gun safety. Who knows? This was a quick joke, and I didn't notice it the first time around. I watched the episode twice. When they henshin, when they all finally henshin, they do, you know, they put their, you know, bring it in, put your hands in, and there's a part where Gaon puts his hand immediately on Juron's at first, but he doesn't like the touch of Kikinoid, so he changes it and goes under Kaito because he doesn't like Kikinoids. I thought that was funny because it's subtle, but it works. I thought this particular opening battle move was pretty bold.
Taste the rainbow.
I love how Sechan always comments how everything that's happening is actually not unique and it's happened before, because to Kaito everything is new and exciting, but Sechan's like, no, not unique. Basically every other Super Sentai in every other world has done this before. And the last one is, and I didn't really notice it until maybe like the middle of the episode, the mushroom, and they address it, you know, the Johnny 5 Alive asks the mushroom monster, why do you keep saying shroom? And, you know, he's saying it for, you know, trying to work it into his sentences. But if you actually read the sentences, every time he says shroom, it actually takes the place of the F word. Rewatch it or watch it for the first time. Every time he says shroom, it's actually the F word. There's a point when he's attacking where he literally says, get shroomed, and then right after that, he says, shroom you. So now quickly, let me just quickly talk. This is just an opinion thing, and I was mentioning this earlier, the thing that I don't like. I don't really feel like Gaon's personality fits his look. And this is partially not just the look itself, but it's also the dynamic of the team. Because when I read the character bios of all the team members, the thing that I noticed was missing was the cool guy or the cool girl. You know, like the quiet, cool person. Where is that person? Or Kikinoid, I should say. Because when I look at Gaon, he honestly looks the most badass. He's got like the dreads and everything, and he's got like the lion face. He reminds me more of, if you've watched Kamen Rider O's, Kazari. He looks more like that. And Kazari is a quiet leader. He's a villain. You know, I kind of like that, and I almost wish that they did that, because that still fits with the whole, you know, self-loathing thing. In a way, I think that even fits more. And when it comes to the dynamic of the team, I feel like there is no dynamic, in fact. You know, we don't have the quiet, cool person. Everybody's over the top. That's the only thing that I'm like, I wish they would have done this. How do you feel about that? Like, would you want that, or do you think it's fine the way that it is? So as always, everybody, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to say about Zenkaiger, please make sure to leave it down below. If you want to keep up with these videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You could follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitter. And that's it, everybody. I gotta get prepared to watch Power Rangers Dino Fury Episode 4 tomorrow, which I gotta make another video. It's gonna be a busy weekend. And I also want to watch Justice League. So I will see you guys later. Well, I said I was gonna, for Super Sentai, do a different clothes. I don't have one yet. So may the power protect you anyway.